Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Episode 4. We're flying through them. We're excited. Content's flowing. I feel like we're getting to our groove here, John.
Oh yeah,
We're rocking and rolling, ladies and gentlemen. We are.
yeah. I'm especially excited for this episode. We're doing a little bit more of a baseball focus as we are getting into baseball season.
Yep.
But first, I wanted to start off with one thing. So I caught a lot of heat for my Firehouse subs as the top 5 fast food chains. So I am not planning on reverting back to that list. I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to push the subject even further. You know, I think they Firehouse doesn't get the respect it deserves, and
Wow.
I'm gonna stay wearing this hat every episode
Wow.
until we get some love.
Wow.
So for those that are listening in, I am sporting a beautiful black and red hat
Yeah, show
lid
that off for the people there,
with
John.
with the
Let's see that.
Firehouse
Look
subs
at that.
founded by firemen.
Shout out to all the
Beautiful
firemen out
lid.
there.
Yeah, beautiful lid that's going to stay on this dome. I think we should partner with them. I honestly think it's time for a partnership. This hat will remain on my head until we get a partnership with Firehouse Subs. Let's make it happen.
Wow.
Founded by firemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, you are seeing a guy who is willing to die on a hill.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't know if I know anyone more willing to die on a hill than John Scott. So, uh,
I'll die on this hill.
I mean,
Firehouse Subs is elite.
a man of
Um,
his word, a man of Firehouse Subs. Again, shout out to all the firemen out there, fire women out there, risking your lives. We absolutely love to see it. Shout out
yep.
Firehouse Subs one more time. Great job, John. I mean, that's great.
Yep.
I love to see that. Like John mentioned, this is going to be a heavily baseball episode. Again, opening day coming up here on Thursday. Super excited, ton of juice, ton of excitement. I'm happy that this lockout's done. Free agents are moving, trades are happening. This is an episode right up your alley, John. Super excited to get into it. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to start off with a little bit of a newer segment. It's going to be our hot seat. It's our MLB hot seat. Obviously, living in Boston for 10 years or so, big Red Sox fan. We got the Yankees fan. You can see the flag flying for those who are watching behind John. And we wanted to just rattle off a little bit of an MLB hot seat. Who wants to get started, John? You want to start? You want me to start? What do you
Yeah,
want to do?
I'll start. I'll start it off. I'll put you in the hot seat first.
Okay.
So my questions, as you all could probably tell, are going to be focused on Red Sox putting Bass in the hot seat. My first question for you:
Seat's warm.
Devers over under 42 home runs.
Under.
Chris Sale 22 games pitched.
Under.
Dahlbeck over under 25 home runs.
Over. Big Dahlbeck here.
Evaldi at least 11 wins.
Over. He should have had way more last year. For sure. That
Okay.
stat is a little bit skewed, but he's going over.
Okay. Story will have the biggest impact on the Sox in 2022.
No shot.
Xander will have his best year as a Red Sox prior to his opt-out.
Oh, I'm going to go yes.
Sox with a plus winning percentage against the Yankees.
I think we were pretty close. I think we might have got the edge on you last year. I'm going to go and say no.
Sox finishing second or better in the AL East.
Fuck yeah. Let's go.
Sox winning the World Series.
I will give us a 12% chance to win the World Series.
Okay.
Going out there on a limb. Seats getting hot, a little warm there.
Yeah, I mean, with some of your numbers, if you got some guys that put together, if you have Xander having one of his best years, I mean, if you've got Evaldi with more than 11 wins, that would be tied for top in his career. Dahlbeck over 25 home runs. I would say you're definitely competing in the top of the division. That would be good for the Sox.
And let me explain a few of my answers. One, Trevor Story. I think he's going to do a great job. I don't think he's going to have the biggest impact, only because we have great players. We have cornerstone players in Devers and Bogarts. I really think Dahlbeck is going to turn the corner and really mash for us this year. And, I think Kike is a lot more comfortable in his role now. He's been a Sox for a couple years now, so I think he's really settling in. Obviously, him and Cora have a really strong relationship. I think Story's going to add a ton of value, but to say that he's going to be, you know, add the most value or be, I forget how you worded the question, but I just think two players really stand out to me this year. It's going to be Rafael Devers. It's going to be Bobby Dahlbeck. I really think they're really gonna have career years.
Okay,
Um,
fair.
and then again, Evaldi. I think I think he only had 11 wins last year, but he pitched a ton of great games that he shouldn't have lost last year. What he did, I get it. I understand how the stat goes, but I think he's gonna have. I think we might have to lean on him more than we want to. Obviously, with Sale out, he's on the 60-day. I just think he's going to get off to a hot start. He's comfortable. He's our ace right now, and he's been our ace the past two seasons. And while he's been due for a down year, it hasn't happened. I really think Nate's gonna live up to what he's done over the past couple years. So definitely tough hot seat there, John. Love the questions. Um, are you ready to hop into the
I'm
hot
ready.
seat?
Let's go.
All right, a little rapid fire action. Yankees 90 plus wins over under.
Over.
Josh Donaldson over under 25 home runs. He had 26 last year.
Under.
Um, will the Yankees sweep the Red Sox in a series at all next year?
No.
Garrett Cole over under 16 wins.
Just under.
DJ LeMahieu batting average 280 over under.
Over.
More likely to have more wins, Nestor Cortez or Jordan Montgomery?
Jordan Montgomery.
Aaron Judge leads the team, or I guess Aaron Judge team triple crown. So he'll lead the
Team
team.
triple count?
Yeah.
Yes.
Stanton, 125 games played over under.
Over.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Stanton is finally kind of doing some things to his body in the offseason to get him ready, more prepared, and just, he's finding ways to be in the lineup on a more consistent basis.
Sure.
Playing a little bit of outfield too as well. I'm high on Judge this year. I think he's going to be great. Josh Donaldson, I only went under 25. I think it's just going to be slightly. I'm hoping he can stay healthy. I think if he could stay healthy, he'll be over.
Okay.
But health is going to be, his kind of concern there.
Sure.
And I think DJ is going to have a bounce back year.
He's had back-to-back down years.
Yep.
For his standards.
I think some of the pressure is going to be off him a little bit. He's not going to be an everyday guy, which is kind of crazy to say. DJ LeMahieu's not going to be an everyday guy, but they're going to kind of platoon him with, at second base with Glaber, and then third when, Josh Donaldson's getting a day off. So I think he's not going to have as much of the pressure of being that guy on a daily basis.
I think DJ is a guy that he needs to be on the field. And I let you guys go on a skid and DJ's not playing. Boone's going to have to answer some questions. That's really what my concern is when it comes to DJ not being an everyday player.
Yeah, I shouldn't say he's not going to be an everyday, because they guaranteed him 500 at bats, so he's going to be playing. It's just he doesn't have, he's not locked into a position.
Sure.
So I think last year was kind of an anomaly with the Yankees overall. Defensively, they were a mess. Put guys where, here, there. They had no idea what they're doing. I'm hoping with some of the additions and subtractions that they made that it's a little bit more consistent in terms of where guys are going to be. So I think they're going to be competitive just like the Red Sox this year. The AL East is going to be, a bloodbath, but it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's great. Just for reference, Stanton played in 138 games last year. So you went over on 125. I think Judge is definitely, team triple crown. I feel like he's got that locked up and it's in the bag. And seems like you're looking for a big year out of Jordan Montgomery this year. Someone's got to step up after Garrett
I
Cole.
think Nestor had a great year last year. I think he's going to slide back down to a little bit of reality there.
Okay.
And I have I'm not a big Jordan Montgomery fan, but I think this is the year where he needs to, you know, set his place in this rotation and say, okay, here I am.
Well, let's say I
Um,
took Cortez out and I put Tyone in there. Would it be a tougher question?
yes, that would be a tough question. Um, I think I would have to go with Montgomery only because Tyone's had some injury issues also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would have to go with Montgomery.
Okay.
I left side, lefty versus righty. Um, I
It,
think I would stay with Jordan Montgomery, but that would be tough. It would be very close.
yeah. Yeah. Again, ton of question marks around both teams this year.
Yep.
Um, and that's, it's going to be a fun. It's going to be an exciting season again. Season kicks off on Thursday for us, Red Sox, Yankees in the Bronx. There's no better way to start the baseball season than Red Sox, Yankees in the Bronx. I mean, it's just
Love it.
absolutely love it. Super
Yep.
excited. So happy it's back. I'm happy there wasn't a long delay. And again, this is a heavy baseball episode, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for us.
Yep. So let's get into our next category here, the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the pod. So Bess and I put together a tier list here, just a list of where we think teams are going to fall when we get to the end of the season.
Yep.
Obviously we're going to have some teams that have high hopes, and then some teams that just are going to be, they're going to struggle to win some games. So starting from the bottom here, the try again in 3-year category.
Yeah. Not great.
Just these teams, it's going to be tough for them to win.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it will be. Starting off with the Orioles, just not there yet. They've got a couple pieces, two really, but just not there yet.
Yeah, they're a team that doesn't really spend. Their payroll is just, again, they don't spend the money at the end of the day. Mullins is a nice player, Means is a nice player, but at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like they want to be competitive. So
yeah, tough roster there. Mm-hmm. Tough division also. The Rockies, I know they added Chris Bryant, but they just don't really have much else around them. They got rid of Story. I don't really know what the point of the Chris Bryant sign was when you got rid of Story. Not sure. They're just another team. It's going to be tough to win games.
Yeah, Colorado again. It seems like year after year they just ship away their best player. Yeah. Whether it's Nolan Arenado, whether it's Trevor Story, they're just moving their guys, and maybe grabbing Chris Bryant was like just a little ode to our fans, like, hey, we're not completely giving up. We got Chris Bryant, but some would argue he's at the back half of his career. He's reached his peak already, and he's kind of on the downward. So Rocky's not really competitive. Next team on here, place that you're familiar with, the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for Pittsburgh fans. I mean, they've got a great fan base.
They really do. Yep. Shout out to the Steel Cactus. Shout out Steel Cactus. Some great nachos there. The facilities over there. The ballpark's beautiful out in Pittsburgh, but not really giving the fans much of a show because the team is abysmal.
Yeah. They just don't have much there. We'll leave it at that. Oakland A's, I mean, talk about a team that's done a complete 180. They were competing last year, and they got rid of everybody. Got rid of Chapman, got rid of Anaya, got rid of Olsen. Their payroll right now is like $33 million. I think after arbitration, it's probably going to be closer towards $50 million, but still, I mean, not much there, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it kind of stinks because it feels like the moves that they've made this past season have been truly, we're going to try again in 3 years, right? AL West, Houston has kind of primarily dominated that division over the past 5 or 6 years. Maybe they're hoping that, the Bregmans and Altuves kind of reach their peak, hit their ceiling, and start to go on a downward. And while they're going down, they retool up and try and win that division again. But massive overhaul. They moved a ton of people, and again, just not really competitive at the moment right now for the Oakland A's.
Yeah, yeah. Diamondbacks.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Diamondbacks. Sorry. Yeah.
Not much there. Not much
Yeah,
there. Not much
yeah.
to talk about.
I mean, I'd rather go on to the Nationals. I mean, at least they have Soto. At least they have Strasburg. But after that, I mean, they're in another tough division. We'll see what ends up with Soto if he stays there and they can build around him, or he goes. But I love watching Soto play. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's about it. And we talked about this earlier, John, but talk about a team that, they won the World Series not that long ago, right?
Yeah,
And, I know they had a lot of decisions to make. They had a lot of contracts that needed to, moves that needed to make, right? With Scherzer and with, Rendon, and those guys ended up moving on and cashing into some bigger deals. Maybe that's a sign for Washington. When you have those years, pay your guys, pay your players, keep the nucleus together. Again, Soto's a great player. He's gonna attract some fans, but it's so hard to be a one man show in the bigs, and Washington just kind of at the bottom of the barrel again,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Our next tier up from there, and it's funny because when we were naming the categories, we were like, what do all these teams have in common? And they're all in the Midwest. So you got your Midwest Joes.
The Midwest Joes.
Midwest Joes. They'll win you some games, but overall, are they really competing to, make the playoffs? Not really. Not at this point.
No, and the first team on here are the newly named Cleveland Guardians. Again, a few players of note, but nothing really to get you too excited.
Yeah,
Um,
they got a decent rotation with Shane Bieber and Plesac, and they got Jose Ramirez over
Ramirez,
there at third too. But I mean, that's about it. That's
yeah,
really about it.
not much happening for the Guardians. So
Yeah,
they're not guarding much. I'll tell you that.
yeah. I wouldn't want them as a guard. Detroit Tigers. I mean, another team. They got some good youth. With
But,
blanking on his name,
but
Badu, I think it is.
yeah,
Um,
so they got Badu. They added Javi Baez
yeah,
and Eduardo Rodriguez to add, just kind of bulk up their rotation a little bit.
yeah,
Couple splashes here and there, but again, a team that lacks luster and aging Miguel Cabrera. Um, really not much to write home about. They're okay.
yeah,
They're just average.
yeah.
And
They'll have
that's
about maybe 70, 75 wins, maybe or so,
yeah,
around there probably. Kansas City Royals, another one. I know they got Witt Jr., the young guy,
yeah. Salvi Perez can
who's Salvi Perez too, stud catcher. I mean, but another team that won a World Series recently, that has unfortunately kind of fallen off. They've got great ownership, but it's just a team that they're losing out on some big name guys, and that's about it, really.
Yeah, and it feels like, and you guys will start to hear a theme here with these Midwest Joes. It feels like they're kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to attracting the top talent. Um, and it's either when you're in these Midwest markets and these smaller markets, you're either going to have to pay a ton, right? Or these guys are going to move on, right?
Yep.
And if you're not willing to pay, then you're going to lose these guys. So, next team on here, a team that has spent in the past, Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
It seems like they're going through a little bit of a changing of the guard. Again, they had some real top tier names, 5 to 6 years ago. They seem to have a young nucleus again with Bryant and Rizzo and all these guys who were just mashing for them a few years back. And now they're, you know, old names and new faces.
Yeah, I mean, you got Stroman. They signed Stroman, so
Yep.
you got him on there. But just another team. It's kind of like,
I mean, they've added a couple
just
pieces, Jan Gomes, Jonathan Villar. Like again, they've added a few names, but again, the sum of the parts just really isn't there. Don't really think they're going to be competitive because there's a team in that division that has tooled up over the past couple years. And we'll get
Yep.
to them shortly. And then the last team in the Midwest, Joes. I mean, the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, I
Not
mean, Joey Votto is great. Like Joey Votto, he's just alone there. Unfortunately, they just got rid of Winker.
yeah, your boy,
um, yeah,
old
and
Jesse Winker.
they got Luis Castillo, who had a down year last year, but after that, don't really know what else we got. So
Oh,
fortunately, the Reds are going to be in that category. Another 70 probably win team, 75 win, maybe closer to 80 win team. They got rid of Sonny Gray too. So um,
yeah,
another Midwest team.
not much. So our next tier, again, for the listeners out there, there are teams, the glass half full. That's the tier. And again, we named this tier really because I would say the fans of these teams um, are probably very optimistic about these teams. They've improved steadily over the past few years, and they probably see their glasses half full. Right, they're seeing the
Yep.
bright side, and maybe trying to distract themselves of some of the realities of the team. And the first team on here, and John, we've had a lot of conversations about this team, is the Seattle Mariners, a team that finished second in their division last year and have made a couple of moves to be competitive. But give the people your thoughts on the Mariners, John. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the Mariners are going to be a very good team. These are all teams that, if they get hot at the right time, could make a serious run. Seattle's got a lot of good young players. They picked up Winker.
Robbie
They got
Ray.
Robbie Ray. They picked him up from the Blue Jays.
Yep.
They got one of the top five best prospects in baseball that just made the team.
Yeah, Julio
Um,
Rodriguez is going to be a stud.
yeah, they've got a lot of solid players that I think if they put it together, they could make a run. They're a good team. It's tough to hit in that ballpark, as we know. Ask Robinson Cano, um, but I mean they've got some good talent on the roster, definitely. Um, I think they also have blanking on his last name. It starts with a K.
Oh, Kellenic. Kalenic.
Kellenic, who is a stud,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be a stud also. So they've got a lot of good players on that roster that I think if they put it together, they could be a good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And
Next,
a team
next,
near and dear to my heart.
yeah, the Marlins. Now it's funny that we put them glass half full category because most would put them, towards the bottom, but they've got some good talent. They got Jazz over there at second base. They've got um, Alcantara, who's a great starting pitcher.
Yep.
Um,
They just
you
picked
know,
up another bat in Soler, Jorge
yep,
Soler.
yep. So I think they're going to win some games. They're in another tough division, also in the NL East, but they've got some good young players. It's a shame they couldn't go after like Castellanos and spend some additional money to kind of put them over the hump there. But they've got a pretty good young group that they could do some flashy things.
Yeah, yeah. I think they've continued to be competitive and improve their team. Again, they kind of blew it up a few years ago with Stanton on the move, and they moved a lot of great players. I mean,
Yelich
They
too.
had a Christian Yelich on their team. They had a really solid young team, and they kind of blew it up. They were going through some ownership changes, but seems like they're righting the ship. They're righting the ship. I think they're going down the right path. Still a couple of big names away from really competing, but again, for those fans of the Marlins, the glass is half full. And the last team here, again, a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue. The Texas Rangers. Um,
I mean, Texas Rangers, they spent $500 million, and I really don't think it really got them over the hump there. I mean, Simeon and Seager are great players. I would say Seager's a great player. Simeon had a very good year last year.
yeah,
I don't know if he'll be able to continue that for this year. But I mean, their starting pitching and their bullpen don't really have much.
yeah, they
Um,
didn't do too much. I mean, they added John Gray, a decent arm, but again, again, I think the big question with the Rangers is going to be, can Seager and Simeon elevate that team to greatness? Because a lot's going to be hoisted on their shoulders, right? They're going to have to produce, and they're in order for the Rangers to have any sort of chance of postseason aspirations, those two need to have career years. And you can argue that they had career years last year. So for them to double down and double back on just, eclipsing what they did last year, it's a big ask, and it came with a big price tag. They spent a lot of money on these guys. So we'll see. Texas has never been shy about, opening the wallet and spending some dough. But at the end of the day, you know, what are what are you going to get on the field in terms of production, and is it all going to come together for the Rangers? We don't
Yeah,
know, but again, for a
I'm gonna
Rangers
I'm
fan,
gonna say no.
and
I'm
that's
gonna say
fine.
no.
But for all the Rangers fans out there, I'm sure your glass is half full.
Yep.
You got some flashy names out there, and you're hoping that your team can make a run here. So
Yeah.
these next categories is where it gets really fun. It gets really
Oh
fun
yeah.
here because we're talking about the cream of the crop. Next category, superstar wild cards. And again, the theme for this tier is most, if not all, of these teams have big names, right? They have big
Yep.
names that could potentially, hoist them into a strong playoff run, playoff appearance, and maybe make a run. And what's that first team on there, John?
That first team is the Rays.
Yep.
So I mean, Wander Franco, obviously, he's going to be elite. They just extended him, so he's locked in.
Yep.
Hopefully, well, not hopefully for the for the sake of the AL East, but Glass now. Hopefully, he can be healthy to help
Yep.
that team. I know he had some issues when they got rid of the sticky stuff. So he is still a solid pitcher, above solid pitcher. So, and the Rays are just the Rays. They're just better analytically than any other major league organization.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what puts them always in contention to win. They got Randy Arozarena, who somehow just hits and hits and hits,
I mean,
and
he gets
in
as
clutch time.
yeah. I
Clutch.
mean, once
So
October comes around, the guy just turns it up to a different level. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, hit 10 home runs in the postseason 2 years ago. Um, Flashes the glove. I mean, made one of the best plays I've ever seen in the outfield last year in the playoffs against the Red Sox. He's just a solid guy. Again, the nucleus is there with Franco, with Rosarania, Kevin Kiermaier. Like, they have guys who, again, can play the game. Their analytics department, like you said, is top notch, top tier. We'll
yep,
see what happens with the pitching. I think that's a big thing that we'll see what happens. Again, Glasnow is a big part of that, like you mentioned. So again, Tampa Bay always going to be in it. They've been in it for the past few years. Next
yep.
team on here. Shout out to Kenny Holzhammer, real quick. St.
Give
Louis
him a shout out.
Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals. Shout out to Kenny.
Watch out for the Cards. Watch out
Always.
for the Cards. They're bringing back the nucleus of Pujols, Yachty and Wayno. I mean, if this was 8-10 years ago, that would be an
I
elite
mean,
three.
that's an
three
all-star
guys right
team
there. Yeah,
10 years ago.
yeah. But I mean, between those, you got those three guys. You got Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. They probably have one of the best, if not the best, corner infield group out of any team in Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
The Cardinals are always in it. They're always in it.
They just are.
So, yeah, they also have O'Neill in the outfield too. The guy paints his jersey on. He's absolutely yoked. So watch out for the Cards to be a team that they could make a run if they're hot in the wild card.
Yeah, I mean, finished second in the division last year. Added another arm in Steven Matz. So I think they're going to continue to compete. They're just they're a great organization, top down, just year after year, cornerstone organization. They do it the right way. And I think one of the wild cards on that team. Call me crazy, John. I think they're expecting something out of Pujols this year. I really do. I think that they're thinking that the crowd's going to energize him, and maybe he'll step in a couple big moments. I don't think they're expecting big numbers, but maybe some big moments from Albert Pujols. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you got the DH too in the NL, which is
Correct.
big.
Correct.
So they don't really need him to play first base as much anymore. Just DH and hopefully run into a couple bombs.
Yeah, absolutely.
next on the list, we got the Angels. I mean, hopefully, the thing with the Angels is Otani's Otani, right? Um, he's great on both sides,
I
pitching
would
and
I
hitting.
would say more than great, John. I think that's not a good word for Shohei Otani.
Okay,
That
he's
guy.
elite,
Thank you.
elite,
Elite.
elite. Mike Trout is elite with injury issues. I mean, he only
Correct.
played 30 games last year.
Yep.
So if he can remain healthy, if he could play, 150, 140 games, they're gonna make some noise over there. They got Noah Syndergaard they added to,
Yep. They
Rendon
re-signed
over there,
re-signed Iglesias. That was big for them.
re-signed Iglesias. So they could make a run too in the playoffs if all the pieces come together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, moving on to
Next,
the
we got the Padres.
Padres.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what the Padres to me are trying to compete with the Dodgers by just making big splashy moves, even if it doesn't work out or or fit their need.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they got Machado and Fernando Tatis, but they're also talking about Tatis playing the outfield. So, I mean, where is he going to end up? Can he stay healthy? They got Yu Darvish, who's solid on the mound, that has
Hmm.
some injury issues.
Yep.
Um, I mean, they'll compete in that division with the expanded playoffs. That'll definitely help them too.
Yeah, and I do agree with what you said. It felt like they were just adding pieces. I think it was last offseason or two off seasons ago where they added Snell. They added a bunch of these guys where it's like, okay, when's it going to stop? But it never seemed to stop. Um, and I'm interested to get your opinion, John, just to kind of stay on Tatis for a little bit. Do you think the move to the outfield is just it sounds crazy trying to extend his career, but maybe trying to protect his career by moving
A
him to
little
the
bit, yeah,
outfield? Does it
yeah,
feel that way?
yeah,
Okay. Yep.
yeah. It
Well,
feels like they're trying to maximize the amount of time he's on the field,
mhm.
and by playing the outfield, it potentially does that.
And here's the thing too. Again, with this new DH rule, right? Like if they wanted to save his legs, they could just throw him into a DH spot a few games and just use him for his bat, right? Just
Yeah, the issue is he's so elite defensively that it's almost like, damn, we're spending all this money, we got to put him in the field.
yeah,
Like he's an elite young guy. They just need him to stay on the field.
yeah. Well,
Um,
the next
Moving
team,
on, yeah. So we went back and forth on the Mets here.
yeah, the New York Mets.
So I started off the year as, damn, the Mets are up there with the cream of the crop. And then we started running into an injury issue with DeGrom again. And then a little hamstring issue with Scherzer again. And it's like, damn, these guys just can't stay on the field. And it's like, I really want to watch DeGrom pitch, but he's already out a couple weeks. It's like, I just I think they have a chance to make a run. Obviously, they've got a very good lineup. They've got a good starting rotation. Um, but it all has to come together. I'm not so high up on Lindor. I don't think Lindor is going to really pan out for them. Hopefully, Pete Alonso gets better at first base because he's terrible defensively. He had a
Yeah,
down year last year.
yeah, he did.
But if their starting rotation can stay healthy when it matters, they will be a good team, very good team. So I think they're going to finish second in the NL East.
Yeah, and that was going to be my take. Is obviously health is going to be their what they need to focus on, and hopefully the baseball gods protect them a little bit. But I think ultimately that division isn't, it's got some scrappy teams in there, but I wouldn't say it's a powerhouse division. I think if they can, keep their core on the field, they can
I don't
compete to
know.
win.
I think it's a pretty powerhouse division. I mean, you got the Phillies, the Mets, and the Braves all in that division that are very good.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be similar. Like again, the Phillies, the Phillies had just a weird season last year. I mean, there were times where they were just going on skids, losing 8 games in a row, 10
Yeah.
games in a row. It took a big push for them to get around. Now they've done some things, and we'll talk about the Phillies in a second. They've done some things to kind of bolster up that team and support Harper, which I think is long overdue. But I don't know. I think and I'm thinking from Mets ownership, I think that they can swing in and steal it, right? I think they
Definitely,
feel
definitely.
like they can strong arm that division by spending money, and that's exactly what they did. And maybe they don't believe in the Braves. Maybe they don't think the Braves. Maybe they think the Braves are a flash in the pan, right?
Yeah,
So we'll see. We'll see. There weren't a lot of
yeah,
people preseasons, planting their flag in Atlanta for the Braves to win the World Series, and look what happened. So we'll see what
yeah.
happens there. And then the last team in the Superstar Wild Card tier, the Minnesota Twins. And I'm going to let John talk about the Twins because, again, another team that we went back and forth on.
Yeah, I mean, you added Correa. They added Sonny Gray, which I'm not really nervous about. Sonny Gray, he doesn't really pitch well in the spotlight, as I've seen in New York.
Mhm.
Um, I I think they're gonna be competitive. They're definitely not gonna they're gonna finish much better than they did last
I mean,
year.
they were last year in the division.
Yeah, yeah. But I think they're definitely gonna be better. I think they'll finish second or so in their division. I could see them having a bounce back year.
Uh, yeah, I'm not as sold on the Twins as John is. Again, I think they replenish their team. Um, again, they need to stay healthy. But I really, again, Correa is nice. I think they got Buxton too. That's
Yep.
a decent
Another
player.
guy, injury issues. Yep.
And they have guys. They have players who can play. I just want to see it. I feel like I haven't seen it from the Twins in a few years, and um, I'm very interested. I think they're a team that I'm really going to be watching the first, 25 to 30 games of the season to see what kind of start they get off to and if they can build some momentum.
Yeah. I mean, between them and the Mariners, I think it's going to be kind of like a flip flop there.
Sure.
It has the potential to be a flip flop there, but I'm going to give the slight edge to the Twins. I think they've got a little bit better of a rotation, maybe.
Yeah, they got more juice. They got more arms.
Yeah, a
I'd
little
say
bit,
that.
but yeah, that's what I would say. It could be a flip flop between them and the Mariners.
Perfect.
Our next category that we named it Achilles. So all great teams that could potentially win a World Series, but they all have a question mark or something, an Achilles heel, something that can kill their season. Um, First off is the Brewers. Brewers are a good team. They're just the NL is kind of stacked. I mean, you got the Cardinals are in there, you got the Padres in there, the Giants, the Dodgers. They didn't really do much in the offseason, which was pretty surprising, but they still have a good core. I like their head coach too, or their manager too as well. They just have a good team. They got Brandon Woodruff, I think his name is, starting pitcher who is one of the top in Major League Baseball, according to a ton of different writers. So, I mean, they've got a good team and they compete in the playoffs, so they can make a run.
The thing with Milwaukee to me is, can their star be a star? Can Yelich,
Yelich,
can he turn back the clock a little bit and be that star that we know he can be or that he's shown that he can be?
yeah,
Um, I think a lot of that hinges because again, that foundation is fantastic. I mean, Hader's really good. They have good players. They have really good players. They have a solid foundation, like you said. Um, managerially, they're great as well. It comes down to Yelich to me. Can he lead the charge? Can he galvanize that team? And can he prove that he's a build and not a bust? Shout out to our last segment. There's a lot that falls onto his shoulders, but I will say again, good nucleus, good unit. They do have that Achilles heel, and that's why they're in this category. Next team, again, we just talked about them, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Philly's lineup is pretty stacked.
Yeah,
I mean, when you got Harper, JT Remuto, um,
they added Nick
Castellanos,
Castellanos.
Schwarber, you've got Bohm on there too. You've got a pretty good lineup there. I like their rotation too. They got Aaron Nola,
Got Wheeler.
um, Wheeler on there too is another good pitcher. I mean, their weakness, their Achilles heel, is going to be their defense. Their defense was projected to be one of the worst of all time.
That bad, huh?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So And I know they lost a lot of games last year because of their bullpen. Their bullpen would just give up 7 runs and they'd just be out of it.
Yeah.
Um, but they already last year showed the potential to put some runs on the board. It's just going to be, can they, not give up more than they score?
Yeah, they're an interesting team to me because I would say they have a lot of guys who have had question marks around them, and they've answered the call, right? You know, there was a time where people were calling Harper out, and is he this, is he
Yep.
that? He turns around second half of the season and just goes on an absolute tear. You know, just goes into the MVP race and just reminds people I'm Bryce Harper. This is the kind of
Yep.
player that I am, right? Schwarber, right? People had questions about Schwarber. He's back on the team. He, lifted up the Sox a little bit last year. He's still hitting bombs. I mean, he went on a crazy run last year where he hit, I don't know, 7 home runs in like 3 or 4 games. So there are guys who have been in question and have answered the call. They just need to put it all together. And if their nucleus can put up the numbers that they can and that they've shown, I think they're going to be a really, really strong competitive team. And like
Yep.
you said, defensively, they gotta figure it out.
Next on our list, the New York Yankees. The Yankees, their Achilles heel is going to be their starting rotation. After Cole, what is it? You got Severino, who can be great if he can stay healthy. Jordan Montgomery can be good. Tyone can be good if he could stay healthy. Nestor Cortez, can he continue what he did last year? So their Achilles heel is going to be their rotation. I mean, at the end of the day, I think they're going to hit better than they did last year. Last year was a terrible year
Mm-hmm.
offensively. I think they're going to put the ball in play some more and put some pressure on defenses, which is good versus just striking out every other at bat. So I think they could definitely make a run if all the pieces come together and they get some good starting pitching.
Yeah, well, and let me ask you this too, John. I know a lot has been made of the Reds, or excuse me, the Yankees, and kind of their lack of moves in free agency. Right, not very active, not very aggressive. A couple of trades here and there have come through in the past few days, but I know a lot of these, websites and blogs have their free agency grades, in the C's and D's. As a Yankees fan, how do you feel about the offseason? And does that kind of point to the type of team that Boone and the Yankees management thinks that the team has right now?
Yeah, the offseason was interesting because you had guys out there like a Story or a Correa that you thought the Yankees, hey, we're going to give you 30 mil a year. But we also have to remember that we have Judge that we're going to be spending 30 mil a year on. So between Judge is going to be 30 mil a year, Cole is 30 mil a year. You got Stanton at 27, I think it is. And then maybe Gallo is another guy that you might have to spend 11, 12, 14 mil a year on potentially. So I don't think they wanted to get locked into a shortstop when you got some good young talent, down in our minor league system. I think we didn't really do the big splashy moves like, hey, let's slap our dick on the table where the Yankees and spend money. But I think they made an okay move. I really like Isaiah Khalifa. I call him Mia Khalifa. I like him. He's athletic. He's fast. He puts the ball in play. Doesn't strike out. The only thing that I didn't like is that we had to sign Josh Donaldson and take on 50 million from him. But he can also be a huge help to the lineup. He doesn't strike out much and he hits bombs. And he adds a certain grit that we frankly need.
Yeah,
Um,
fair.
so it's not the big flashy names. We didn't go out and spend 300 million, but we got a little bit more athletic. I kind of wish we added another starting pitcher. But with the things that we have coming up in the pipeline, whether it be Judge, and some of our young guys like Volpe and Peraza, I think I could kind of understand why we didn't sign a Correa or a Story at that time.
Okay.
So we got athletic, which is what we needed to do. We got better behind the plate defensively, which is a must.
Absolutely.
A
Absolutely.
must. And I'm happy with where we are at shortstop versus last year and behind the plate versus last year.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Next team on the Achilles heel tier is my Boston Red Sox. Again, a team that has a great young core, great young nucleus. Devers, Bogarts. You add a Trevor Story, which is I think was a great move. I think they got him for a relative discount in this market, and I think he's going to shore up our infield. And if Dahlbeck can turn into the player that the Red Sox faithful believe he will be, I mean we're looking at a monster infield. Potentially a top five infield in the league. So,
Mhm.
that's exciting. Again, the Achilles heel, similar to the Yankees, is the pitching. Sales already on the 60-day. You're putting a lot of stress on Evaldi. And, it seems like year after year, the Red Sox feel like they have pitchers like a Nick Pivetta, a Tanner Hawk, who they think that they can turn into, these cornerstone guys. And it's still yet to be seen. Um, I think there are some guys out there that, we're talking about Whitlock maybe being a starter. He was great for us last year. But again, the bullpen isn't great. Starting rotation really leaves a lot to be desired. I'll tell you what, we're going to hit. The bats are going to be there. I definitely think
Yep.
we're going to score a ton of runs. But at the end of the day, we have kind of scraped by and haven't been killed too much by our starting pitching over the past 2 years without having some names that again that usually the Red Sox have. When you talk about pitchers, we're usually very pitching dominant. We've gotten relatively unscathed. I'm kind of concerned that this year the pitching isn't going to live up to what ownership thinks it's going to be.
So, I mean, last year, the beginning of the year, I told you the Red Sox weren't going to be good. I said, I think they're going to finish third, maybe even fourth in the division. And I'll take it. I was wrong. I think the only caveat, or I think the main difference maker last year was you got production from guys you weren't expecting to get production from, mainly Kike. I mean, he had a great year last year.
So did
He
Hunter
was
Renfroe.
clutch, and Hunter Renfroe
I
too.
mean, he hit
I think
26 bombs last year.
another aspect of your team that we didn't talk about was Alex Cora, who did great managerially, and really kind of got you to where you were last year. Um, I think they could potentially take a step back. I think they kind of were a little bit of a flash in the pan and kind of reminded me of 2018 last year. But they still have a very good lineup. It's just going to come down to their starting pitching.
See, I'm gonna have to stop you there. I I I don't think 2018 was a flash in the pan when you look at the sum of the parts, right?
You
Like
guys all got hot at the right time. Like everybody got hot at the right time, similar to last year.
I disagree. I disagree because if you look at that 2018 season, we started off hot. We didn't get hot at the right time. We were hot right out of the gate. We started off that season with the season sweep. We were absolutely on fire. We got up early and we didn't let it go in that 2018 season.
I
Obviously, we
mean,
had Betts,
I
who was an MVP candidate. JD hit out of his mind in 2018. I think he had close to 40 home runs. So maybe a flash in the pan when it comes to some of the bats and all that stuff, but I don't
I think
think
that's what I was comparing it to more. Flash in the
because that
pan.
team won.
Some of the players, not all of it. Like you had Mookie and JD that had great years all year long, but then you had some guys that I remember came off the bench, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Up 3-run home run.
Yeah, we had Pierce who came in the World Series and absolutely crushed it. He hit a
Yep.
couple big home runs. Sandy
Vala-
Leone,
yeah, Sandy
Vasquez.
Leone,
Vasquez
Vasquez.
hit 25 home runs that season. I think 15 or 25, one of the two. But
Yeah,
nonetheless, I understand that for sure. But to say that we didn't have the players, I mean, we still had Bogarts, we had Betts, we had Devers. Again, they were a little
yep.
bit younger, and we
I think
definitely
it
had
was
guys.
more flash in the pan of players that you didn't expect to have like you didn't expect them to perform the way that they did.
Mhm.
Like last year, you did not expect Kike to perform the way that he did, or really Hunter Renfroe. Like Hunter Renfroe he's an okay player, but he had a very good year last year for
Yeah, and
you
he, and
guys.
he and he went and
And
got paid, and
Kike,
good for
I
him.
mean, I guess yeah, and Kike, I mean, you really didn't really know his full potential because
He didn't really have a
he
position.
was undershadowed. Yeah, versus everybody else on the Dodgers, he didn't have a position, so you didn't really know what to expect. But he had a very good year, and I mean, he turned around in center field, which I mean, he played a great center field.
Yeah,
So
and the last thing I'll say here on the Red Sox is you mentioned Cora, and I'm happy you did. I think I think Cora, his decisions out of the bullpen last year, when to pull guys, when to put people in. I mean, his success rate was like 90%. Like he called on the right guys in the right times in the right situations. He really didn't get burned. There were
yeah,
times where Darwinson Hernandez would come out of the bullpen and I'd be like, "What in God's name are we doing?" And he would shut it down. Do I think that's going to happen this year? I think it's going to regress a little bit more to the mean, especially because we don't have the arms. But Cora, again, having a manager that you can trust, and he'll play some small ball too. We'll lay it down and we'll bunt sometimes. Love Cora. We'll move on to San Francisco Giants. John, take it away on the Giants.
yeah. I mean, they had a great year last year.
Fantastic.
107 wins, I think it was, or so. They won that division. I mean, they definitely had a crazy year. Not expecting them to have that great of a year last year, but I think they potentially could repeat that. I mean, they added Jock Peterson. He's an okay guy, kind of stinks defensively.
Yeah.
Carlos Rodon, they added him. They lost, obviously they lost a pitcher there. So, I mean, Brandon Crawford's a great shortstop. I mean, he really swung it last year, so we'll see if he can continue it. I mean, they got some pretty good pieces. They just put the ball in play, and they just know how to win. They just figure out how to win. It seems like so you got to put them up there. But
Yeah.
but the only reason why they're not in like that next category is because of the division that they're in, the Dodgers. I mean, everybody's taking the Dodgers to win it again. So
Yeah.
it's like, or to win it. So they're just in a tough division there with the Dodgers and the Padres, both who won 100 games last year.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that's predominantly their Achilles heel, and it's a little bit unfortunate. I would also say too I'm interested to see what their rotation is next year. They signed a couple new guys to the rotation. We'll see what happens and how it all shakes out. A little bit of turnover there with kind of how they're going to start the season pitching wise. So we'll see what happens. But again, I think they're as solid and as steady. Another team that's just kind of been a really strong organization over the past 20 years. They've done a really good job out there. So shout out to
Yep.
them. And the last team on
The White
our
Sox.
Achilles tier, Chicago White Sox. Steady as steady
So,
can be.
yeah, White Sox, they've got a great lineup. Their Achilles heel is going to be their starting pitching. They're already dealing with an injury there. They got Lucas Giolito, who's great. Um, their bullpen is great. They've got
Really
guys that are
good.
just like throwing 100 plus left and right.
Incredible.
Um, but it's just their starting pitching is kind of a question mark right now. Like Tim Anderson, a shortstop, but it's just their starting pitching.
Yeah, they didn't really do much in free agency. A couple of relief pitchers. They added Red Sox and Dodgers legend Joe Kelly to the bullpen. He's talk about a guy that's gonna add some grit to that team.
Yep.
He's got a little lettuce coming out the back. Shout out Joe Kelly. Um, I again interested to see what happens with them. They're solid squad. I feel like they've improved year after year after year. Again, Tim Anderson, a great player. He's going to sell tickets for them.
Yeah.
They'll
They
be
got Jose
solid.
Abreu, who's
Abreu,
mashes.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
they're a really good team. I think they'll be solid. Again, that starting pitching needs to figure it out. I mean, Giolito had an elite year 2 years ago. I think he threw a new no hitter 2 years ago. So again, we'll see what happens. Very competitive division, and now we're getting to the parade hopefuls, the cream of the crop, the top tier dogs when it comes
yeah.
to the MLB. John, take it away.
Yeah. All these teams, they have a target on their back.
Yep.
They have built it almost for the majority, to World Series or bust.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Starting off with the Dodgers, I mean, Dodgers, their lineup is stacked. Their starting pitching is stacked. Walker Bueller's a stud. Dustin May is solid there too. They got Urias, who is great also. I mean, Mookie Betts out there, you know, Turner. I mean, they're just
The list goes on and on.
Yeah, we can keep going. The one name I want to watch out for is Bellinger. Bellinger has had a very tough spring training. He's struck out almost every at bat. So I don't know. He went from MVP caliber MVP to nothing. I mean, last year he hit like 160. So I don't know if he's kind of in like, a little rut here, but hopefully he can kind of shake out of it because he can be an elite center fielder that's just going through it for the past, year or so. So we'll see if he can turn it around.
Yeah, I mean they're an all-star team. They add Freddie Freeman. They just
Of course. How did I forget that?
yeah,
Trey Turner too.
yeah, Trey
I
Turner.
mean,
They bring back Chris Taylor and Scherzer, or it's not Scherzer, excuse me, Kershaw. So they are the Dodgers, right? It's interesting you say that about Bellinger, and I think it's interesting because you have a guy who really, I wouldn't say there's a ton of pressure on him. There are other guys that are, it's not like if Bellinger doesn't play well, we're going to lose because he didn't play well last year and they won 100 games, right?
yeah.
So we're hoping that he can get out of this rut that he's in. We know he's a big time player. We know he's capable of hitting 30, 35 plus bombs. He's got he's got one of the more unique batting stances in the bigs, just really just erect and upright. It's a great time to use erect there. But again, a star-studded team. The expectations are high as they should be. The stars are out in LA. That's just what they do.
Yep.
Um, the next
Yeah.
team I want to, or unless you got another note about the Dodgers, John, that you want to
No,
get into.
no, no. Let's get into the Blue Jays here.
Oh my
Fucking Blue
goodness.
Jays.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about like this is their chance to win. I mean, because they don't have to pay any of their young guys. So this is where they have all this money to spend, on on players because they don't have to pay Bo Bichette, who's going to be, a fucking $400 million player of Vladdy, who's going to be another 400 million, $300 million player. They don't have to pay these guys. So this is their time to shine. If Springer, they made their run last year and he was like injured
He didn't
for a
really
lot of
play.
the year.
He didn't really
Yeah.
play
So
much.
they added Gaussman
Yeah,
as
Kevin
well,
Gausman and Kikuchi.
who I think Gaussman's going to kind of regress a little bit. I don't think he was as good as he actually is, or good as he actually was on the Giants. But yeah, Kikuchi is another one. They got Ryu. I mean, their starting rotation is okay,
Yeah, I don't think it's bad.
but they have the potential to put up 11, 10, 11, 12 runs a game
Yeah, and
every
I
game.
and I think ultimately that's why they're so scary, right?
Yeah.
Because the pitching may not matter that much because they may score 10 runs a game.
Yeah.
They have that much power. They're that explosive. They added Matt Chapman. I mean, Jesus Christ, they're
Yeah,
just.
Matt Chapman's an elite third baseman, one of the best in the league.
I
Him and
mean,
Nolan Arenado are up there
I
in
mean,
terms of best in the league.
incredible.
But
And
if he
again,
can turn it around, swinging a little bit, because I think he hit like 205 or 210 last year. So if he can swing it and make, hit like 240, I mean, he's going to hit his bombs. I think he ran into 20, 25 last year. And that was a down year. So if he can swing it too, that's just another guy. And it's like, holy shit.
and John, you talked about the Cardinals having one of the best corners in the bigs. The Blue Jays are right behind them, if not
Yep.
competing for. I mean, talk about the corners on that squad right there with Vladdy again. That guy golfs baseballs into the
Yeah,
stratosphere.
he's just got pop. It's crazy.
He's
Lights
just on
tower
a
powered.
he's on a
Yeah.
different level. There's again solid squad, great core, great nucleus. Again,
Yeah. Well,
young, feisty, athletic team that can really get it done. They're going to be the bane of our existence this year. I'll tell you that. Um,
they'll
but
be top in the AL East.
they're they're
They will be.
they're a
Just
fantastic
if they
team.
stay healthy, they're just going to be top in the AL East. It
Yeah,
really is.
got to call a spade a spade. Toronto's definitely in that championship watch. Next team there is a team that neither of us really care for, but they're solid, and you got to give credit where credit's due to Houston Astros.
Yeah, I mean they'll be top. I mean they got Bregman, they got Altuve. They put it together. Verlander has looked good this spring training. Somehow he didn't even pitch last year, and he looks fucking great with his command
Yeah,
and his velo is there. Um, I mean, they're just going to be good again. They're going to be top in their division again. They put the ball in play. They find ways to win.
Yeah, I mean they're and it really hurts me to say, but they're just winners.
Yeah,
You know
it's
they
so frustrating,
It really
and
is. It is. But they,
yeah,
they bulldoze through the controversy. They bulldoze through the media. And they just put their head down and they won games. Obviously,
yep,
they lost Correa. We'll see what happens, and how they fill that void. But again, the core is there with Bregman and Altuve and Jordan Alvarez and Michael Brantley. And, they just have guys who have been there. They've done that. They're winners. They got good management too,
yep,
So they're there until someone knocks them out.
yep,
And
exactly.
that's the Astros. And then last but not least, the reigning World Series champions.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are down on the Braves this year, but because of the Phillies and the Mets, but they got their main subtraction was Freeman, who I know is an elite player, but they also added Matt Olson, which there is not that much of a delta there, a difference between the two. I mean, I know, I just don't think there's as much of a drop off, and they won last year without Acuna. So if Acuna can stay healthy, and you got Albies there at second,
Right.
I mean, that's an elite team right there.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
really is. I mean, they added Kenley Jansen too in their bullpen.
Yeah. Live arm.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're going to be they're going to be top in their division. I think. I don't think you can knock them down just because of what the Mets or the Phillies have added. You still
Yeah.
got to keep them up there.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. Again, similar situation to the Astros where I can't take them out until we see otherwise.
Yeah,
They proved to us that they can make a run. Now they need to prove that they're not a flash in the pan, right? That they can come back and that they can continue to, stay in the spotlight. They have one of the more athletic infields as well, with Swanson and Albies, and those guys can really move around. They're athletic,
yep.
and they're
Shout out to Ron Washington.
and they're relatively. I'd say they're relatively young.
Definitely. I mean, they got Albies and Acuna, who are
Acuna,
very young. Dansby's young, and they got them all on team friendly deals.
yeah, and
So
that's really important. So they may be a team that they're here to stay. And without further ado, John, that is our MLB tiers.
that's it. That's our tiers.
Super excited again. Opening day right around the corner. It's going to be fun. And it's just going to be an exciting season. I
Yep.
really hope, and one of our first segments on the DH pod was the state of the MLB, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there have been enough moves, and I think there's been enough kind of buzz around the MLB to garner some attention. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they can
Yep.
capitalize on the momentum that they have and really put on a good season for us. So excited to see what
Yep.
happens in the MLB this year, and those are our MLB tiers.
Yes. Let's stick with baseball, but add a little twist here. Let's add a little twist. We're going to do our top five as we always do, but we're sticking with baseball, and we're going to go top five ballpark food items.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I mean, again, opening day right around the corner. I'll be making a trip to Fenway this year. And I'm just super excited about it. I know exactly what I'm going to get when I get there. And, again, there's some nostalgia when it comes to ballpark foods. I'm sure, more for you than I, but there's just something about it. Something
It's just
about the ball.
American.
It's
Just
just,
American.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Top five ballpark foods here. Who wants to
Yeah,
get
staying
started?
staying with the staples though, because there's a lot of ballparks that do a ton of different things, jumbo that whatever. But we're just doing with the staples,
Okay,
the staples. So why
absolutely.
don't you start us off?
All right. So at number five for me, again, nothing crazy. I'm just gonna go with an all-American cheeseburger.
Okay.
There are times where maybe pregame a little bit. I need to get a little bit of something in the system. Maybe I'm 4 or 5 beers deep. I don't want to get too crazy. Need something a little bit heartier than a hot dog, right? I'll go cheeseburger. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. A little cheeseburger action at five. At four, now this may be a little bit specific to Fenway. I don't think it is. I think you can get these in most ballparks. Sausage, peppers, and onions.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's nothing like a sausage, pepper, and onion. just to really get the juices flowing. I mean, fresh peppers and onions, slather it on there. You know, just classic. I think it's classic. That's coming in at the 4 spot there. Sausage, peppers, and onions. At the 3 spot, peanuts. Just OG peanuts. There are times where maybe I don't need much, right? I just want to snack on some peanuts. I don't really get an opportunity to eat peanuts and really work for them like you do at the ballpark. Outside of, I ordered something at Five Guys and they just put fucking a bunch of peanuts in my bag.
Yeah.
But outside of that, don't really have an opportunity to eat peanuts. Something real, just again, baseball and American about just chomping on some peanuts. Like nothing makes me happier than leaving a ballpark and just seeing a mound of peanut shells in an aisle and be like, you know what? That person went to town. And I appreciate that. So peanuts coming in at the 3 spot. At the 2 spot, the old souvenir chicken tender basket. Right in the helmet. Right in the helmet. Little assortment of sides. I get a little chicken tenders or fries. Can't go wrong. Every park has it. Do it well. Nothing with some fried food. Got to have it. And shouldn't be any surprise at number 1. It's got to be the old trusty rusty hot dog, a.k.a. the Fenway Frank for those of my Red Sox fans. I mean, is there anything that screams baseball more than a hot dog? I really don't think so. You can have it however you want it. Throw some ketchup, throw some mustard, get a little relish going, whatever you want, however you want to dress it up, even a little diced onion in there, right? Whatever you want to do, dress it up how you want. There's nothing like a solid hot dog. Shout out to Mike Prezwara, the resident hot dog expert. Every time we go golfing, gotta have some hot dogs. Mike Prezwara, Yankees fan. Look at that. Little diversity.
Oh, yeah.
Little
I
diversity.
Like the kid already.
Mike Prezwara, shout out to you. You know what I'm talking about. And that is my top 5 ballpark foods. I mean, I think that's solid. I'm interested to hear your list to see if you have anything different, John.
Yeah, I do have a couple things different, actually.
Wow.
I'm going to start with an honorable mention, and I don't think you're ready for this.
I'll throw my honorable mention out after this. Go ahead.
Honorable mention, cotton candy.
Oh, my God.
I love it. I don't know why. I just love it. Can't get enough of it. So that's my honorable mention, cotton candy.
Okay.
Where else are you going to get? What other event are you going to get at that?
The fair?
Man, I don't go to fairs. I'm not a fair guy.
Kid's antisocial. Doesn't go to the fair.
All right. So let's get off of that. Honorable mention, cotton candy. Number 5, I'm going with the peanuts and the seeds.
Yep. Oh, so you're going the combo.
The peanuts and the seeds.
Okay.
The nut family, if you will. I'm a big OG seed guy.
Yeah.
I know you have all the different flavors, the ranches and what have you. It's got to be the OG or the ranch. Either or, but I would go with the OG seed.
Sure.
Peanuts are just great. Just great. Number 4, Cracker Jacks.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be on there. Yeah.
Love me some Cracker Jacks. You get the little toy in the inside too, little paper thing, whatever it is. Cracker Jacks are great. Nothing like Cracker Jacks at the ballpark.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a staple.
Number 3, shout out to New York, Nathan's hot dog. Just love it. Just love the foot long pause. Just add whatever you want. I even go raw dog in the hot dog.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Ketchup. That's it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Gotta love it. Number 3, Nathan's hot dog. Number 2, Dippin' Dots.
Dippin' Dots.
I love Dippin' Dots.
Wow.
Dippin' Dots.
You got a sweet tooth here, John, huh?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. So Dippin' Dots or the soft serve ice cream in the Yankees helmet. I mean, it's just great. It's just great. You eat it and then you throw the little helmet on your head like an idiot. But Dippin' Dots are great. Oreo Dippin' Dots are just the classic. I wish I don't think I can get them in the store, and I wish I could. But Dippin' Dots when I go to the ballpark is just great.
Yeah, they're great.
Number 1, the chicken basket.
Yeah.
It's just great. Let me show you something here. I brought a little souvenir. So this is the basket that Yankee Stadium gives you. Chicken and fries.
That's healthy. That's healthy.
Is filled.
Yeah, it's probably $36.99 too. The Bronx.
Oh yeah, fuck it. And then you add in the souvenir cup.
The guy's got props. For
I
all
got
of those
props this
listening on
episode.
Spotify, you're missing out on just an absolute show.
Just a souvenir, nothing like a souvenir drink and the chicken tender basket. I got to tell you one thing. When you're eating these in July and you're on in the bleacher creatures and it is fucking 95 degrees out and these come out steaming hot, you're eating these and sweating your ass off
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they are scalding hot. The first one, you're like, every time,
Yep.
every time. But
Yep.
chicken finger basket has to be number one because I reuse this for popcorn. But chicken finger basket is my number one.
Yeah,
Has to be.
that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, I think it's surprising that you didn't have hot dog number one. I thought hot dog was going to be number one for you. You definitely put the sweets in there, which
Oh yeah, had
again,
to.
to each his
Just
own.
because it's so hot. It's so hot. So usually, if you're on the bleacher creatures in Yankee Stadium, you're on a metal fucking seat. Your ass is roasting. You're
Yeah.
sweating bullets. You got duck butter. You sit up and your fucking ass sweat is there. But you're just a fan. You're loving it. If they come up with a W, fucking sacrifice it. Get some Dippin' Dots. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yep. So my honorable mention was the pretzel.
Soft pretzel.
Soft
Yeah.
pretzel was my honorable mention, and I think you're spot on with the souvenir soda. You got to get one. You got to get one every single year. I have 12 cups from the Red Sox from all the souvenir sodas. Some of them are just absolutely deteriorating from my dishwasher, but nonetheless, I still got them. I'll never get rid of them. No, I think that's a solid list. I think it's a solid list. I really don't think there's going to be any much opposition. I'm interested to see if we miss any.
I think you'll have some of the Phillies people go, "Oh, Chickies and Pete's fries, Chickies and Pete's fries," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
It is what it is. But again, for if you feel strongly about it, put it in the comments. Let us know. Get some dialogue going. Follow us on Twitter at the DH Pod. We're putting polls out. We're trying to see, what you're liking, what you're not liking, and again, that's going to conclude it here, John.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening to episode 4. I'm excited for the season, and let's go Yanks.
Oh, no.